You got it?
It's sent.
Standing Committee on Public Petitions to commence business.
Thank you very much, Honorable Clerk. Honorable colleagues. Our only subject matter specialists here present, and of course, our friends from the media fraternity, and our very important witness. Good morning to you. Let's see this proposing for the Public Petitions Committee to commence business. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those not in favor, please say no. The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Before we proceed, we will take 1 or 2 minutes to introduce ourselves as our norm. I would like to begin with my humble self. I am Honorable Suleiman Baji. I'm the chairperson of the Public Petitions Committee.
Thank you. Good morning. I am Honorable Swaibu Ture, rapporteur for this committee.
Good morning. I am Oliver, Assistant Senior Committee.
Good morning.
Member. Good morning. Honorable Deyas Seka, nominated member and member of the committee.
A witness would like to introduce yourself.
Good morning. My name is Fara Sharmz of Construct Limited.
Thank you very much. I think the media don't enjoy introducing themselves, but we have familiar faces, so we are good to go. And to our witness to the Committee of the National Assembly derives their power from the 1997 Constitution and the standing orders of the National Assembly. So whatever we do is pursuant to the powers vested on us by the 2 documents I've just mentioned. And I proceed. Pursuant to standing orders 125 of the standing orders of the National Assembly, the Standing Committee on Public Petitions is established to receive formal complaints from the public on matters of public concern and subsequently draw expert recommendations on these petitions to the plenary, or take any other action as enshrined in Standing Order 128. Accordingly, in June 2019, the committee received a petition from concerned staff to the Gambia Tourism Board on alleged cracks and abuse of office. The committee heard from the petitioners in February 2021. This was followed by a series of public hearings at National Assembly building here, as well as visit to the GTBoard office. We've heard from the former DG GTBoard, Mr. Benjamin A. Roberts, on a particular issue. We will also be discussing today with you, our valued witness, Mr. Sham. Ultimately, Mr. Sam, as Proprietor of Construct Limited, your presence here today is to give submissions and present documents relating to a stated contract your company signed with the GTBoard to construct its office complex. This will tremendously help the committee in its investigations. It is important to note that this is not a witch hunting exercise. Rather, it is to get the facts straight, draw strong recommendations that will ensure effective and efficient public institutions in the country. As a witness, you are entitled to certain privileges as stipulated in the standing order, to be precise, standing order 30. However, to remind you, false information or documents shall be considered contempt of Parliament as reflected in Section 110 of the 1997 Constitution of the Gambia and Standing Order 140. As part of our procedure, before any witness that appears before us starts the proceedings proper, he or she will be requested either affirm or be under oath. And that particular mandate of the committee is derived from Section 109(3) of the 1997 Constitution, and I quote, "For the purpose of effectively performing its functions, each of the committees shall have all the powers, rights, and privileges as are invested in the High Court at a trial in respect of A. Enforcing the attendance of witnesses, examining them on oath, affirmation, or otherwise. B. Compelling the production of documents. And C. The issue of commission or request to examine witnesses abroad." So as a result, before we proceed, we would like to invite the clerk of the committee to administer the said affirmation. But further to that, the Standing Orders 134 on the privileges of witnesses, and I quote, 134.1. "Every person summoned to give evidence or to produce any paper, book, record, or other document before the Assembly or any committee of the National Assembly shall be entitled to, in respect of his or her evidence or the production of such document as the case may be, to the same privilege as if he or she were appearing before a court." This just by way of a reminder of the powers invested in the committee. And further to that, 134.2 further reads, and I quote, "Where the President, the Vice President, a minister certifies that the disclosure of contents of any document sought by the Assembly or a committee will be injurious to the public interest or prejudicial to the security of the state, the Assembly shall give consideration to such document in private, and such conditions as well prevent disclosure of the contents of such document outside the Assembly or a committee, as the case may be, and shall not publish the document for its contents." That was the earlier discussions we had on the circumstances of that nature, that any document or information that's a presence would have its negative effect on the security of the nation and other related matters. Such matters will be treated on the camera, outside the media, or any other issue that's of general public interest or concern, that in the opinion of the committee, and that in reality has absolutely nothing to do with public security, will be done in the presence of the media. So that's why we are appealing to you actually to accept our decision for we to proceed in the presence of the media for your good and our good. And that I will call on the clerk to administer the affirmation.
Fara Sharmz,
I, Fara Sharmz,
do affirm that
do affirm that
I will speak the truth,
I speak the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Our valid witness. So we'll proceed. So our procedure here, we have a set of questions that we'll ask. I have a supplementary question for the purpose of clarification or elucidation if you want it. I will ask for further questions for further clarification. If I'm done with a set of questions agreed by the committee members will be given the privilege to ask additional questions only for the purpose of clarification. Where in yourself actually you are not quite sure a particular question, that you can also ask for the question to clarify, so that you will be in a better position to answer the question as we want. So we will begin. We received a petition in June 2020, and part of the petitions from some members of the GT board, an agreement was entered into between the GT board and your company. And that particular contract was entered into on the 24th day of July 2014. Are you aware of such a contract?
Yes, I'm aware of that.
Thank you. So that takes us to question number 1. Can you give us a detailed overview and explanation of the said contract with GTBoard, and how did it come about?
Well, prior to this contract, I have to go a little further back. The whole process started when we applied for the allocation of the land at Fajara Waterfront Golf Course for building apartments and villas and things. When we applied for that, this was in 2011. When we applied for that, of course, GT board demanded a compensation package for allocating the land to us for building those apartments and villas. And this, there was 2 compensation items there. One was to build a craft market, new Fajara craft market with 80 shops and stalls. And the second was to build the head office of Gambia Tourism Board with a total area of 400 square meters of finished floor area. So I have an agreement to that also here, which was signed at that time. So we were supposed to do these 2 compensation package free of charge. So in exchange for the land which was allocated to us at tourism. So this we did the Gambia, we did the tourist market, 80 stalls of craft market. We did immediately and handed over to government. There was a public opening ceremony also, and that was done. And then we waited for GT board to decide where they want their head office to be built. And since then we were waiting and waiting for several years to see where for them to locate the land which we can build this 400 square meter of offices for them. So that took several years until, as you said, in the contract of 2014, at that time they came to us and said, now we have identified a place that you can build our head office for us. And then we went there and we saw this land in front of Lamturo clinic, a land at 40 meter by 80 meter, very huge land. And they said, okay, this is the land and you build our office for us according to our agreement of 2011. And then once we looked at the land, you know, I am a civil engineer, professional developer. So when we looked at the land and the position of the land, which is near the Senegambia Junction, we told them that really to build the office of 400 small offices, 400 square meter with and fencing will be the total waste of this land, because it has a very strategic location, the land near the tourist area, and it will be a waste of everything. So they said, so what do you have in mind? I asked them for a few days. And then we went back with my son, who is also a civil engineer. We sit down and we looked at what the government, what the country needs. You know, there is we thought that there is no mall, shopping center here. There is no modern cinemas. There is no bowling. There is no other things that, you know, with the international standard. And we went back to Gambia Tourism Board. We said the land is so big, we pledged to build a shopping center with modern cinemas and everything. And of course, we will have your offices at one side of the building, and the rest will be, so the land will be well utilized, not to be wasted. So they were very happy of this suggestion. They took it to the head of state of that time, and the head of state also liked it so much. And they said, they asked me, so what do you want in return? You want to do such a big investment in this place for that Tropic Shopping Center? I said, well, give us 30 years lease, so we can, from the renting the shops and things, we will get our investment back, and you will have your offices for free, or it's your place. And then they went there, they came, and they said it's okay. Then few days after, we thought of this road expansion. At that time, we knew that eventually the Senegambia road will be expanded. So we thought of that if the road is expanded, then there is no parking places for a big shopping center like Tropic. And then we went back to them and said, we want the whole building, which is 40 meter by 80 meter, we utilize the whole land as a building site, as a footprint of the building site. So we said, we want the whole building to have underground parking. That was the first time that, of its kind in Gambia, to have a modern underground parking for an establishment. So we will build an extra level underground for almost 100 cars, exact 93 cars to go underground and park, because in future there would be no place to park once they expand the road. And they said, so now what do you want again? I said, well, if you can increase the 30 years lease to 35 years, then we will be happy for that. So they took it to the head of the state again. At that time, I wasn't present in any of those meetings. So they took it there, and then apparently the head of state was very happy with this suggestion and things, and they came and we signed the agreement. The first agreement that you referred to was done for 30 years lease. And then we signed another amendment agreement, which I have a copy here, which increased it to 35 years lease. And then then we asked them, okay, what offices they want. They said, we need offices like this and like that. And then once we look at the requirements, we saw that the 400 square meter that we were supposed to build free of charge for them has increased to 776 square meter, almost double. And we told them, okay, our agreement was 400, now this is almost double. They said, no, you are getting such a big place and things, you should be doing it. The relationship in this country, we're always so friendly with everybody. So we accepted. We said, okay, we will build twice as much offices for you. And then once we finished that, then the the Ministry of Tourism came, and they said they want offices at that place also to move the ministry to the Tropic Shopping Center. We said, well, we have already doubled our pledge, we cannot build extra offices for free anymore. They said, no, we need about 450 square meter of offices, and we are going to pay for that offices that you are building. So we all agreed on this arrangement, and then we started building the shopping center, and then we built their offices according to their exact requirements for the people, for the directors, for the accountants, for whatever with the location. So when the shopping center was almost ready and their offices was only some finishing items were left, almost everything, all partitions, everything was in place. That was the time that the government has changed, and we had a new government, new Minister of Tourism and things. And then we came to know that the Gambia Tourism Board and the Minister of Tourism are saying that they don't want to be part of shopping center after the offices were all ready. Then they want their own building, a separate building for themselves. So to identify investors coming to this country to see that there is a building which is identified as Gambia Tourism Board and Minister of Tourism, which personally, you know, I also thought that that's not a very bad idea for a Ministry of Tourism of this country, you know, to have its own identity, you know, and not to be part of the shopping center. This is where they said, and I, inside myself, I agreed with that, but I had nothing to do with that. So what happened? They came and they said they have already seen an architect, and the architect have designed a 3-story building for Gambia Tourism Board and Minister of Tourism, and they want me to build that building in a site to be determined later. They still had not decided on the site. And this is the plans that they presented to me. I don't know if you can capture it. It's a 3-story building. It's this is the plan which was done by Gambia Tourism Board and given to us. And there is a round building, and it was, all the plans are here. Anyway, this is the facade of it. Probably you have seen it next to Palmarima. Just before the fence of Palmarima, already the structure is built. I don't know if you have noticed it. On the Senegambia Highway, when you are going, before Palmarima Junction, on the right side, you will see a 3-story building which has gone up. Is this still working? Or? Yeah. So they said they want this. I think I can talk loud enough.
Yeah.
Is that okay? So they said they want this building. And then we looked at the plan, and we saw this plan is over 2,300 square meter. You know, the offices that they had was only 776 square meter, and then 400 square meter for Gambia Ministry of Tourism, 1,100 square meter. But this was even double as much, 2,300 square meter. I said, so how are we going to build that? He said, no, we don't want these offices anymore here. We will abandon that, give it to you, and then you can rent it. And then you build this building for us, and then we will move to that building. When we did the cost calculation, this the cost of this building is somewhere between $60 to $70 million. It's a huge building with very fancy finishing and things like that. I have not done exact calculation, but it should be well above $60 million. So they said, yeah, we know that this is a big request, but then we are ready to negotiate them. Then we talked about it and said, okay, you are giving us the offices back, and then now what we want, this 35-year lease should be increased to 50 years. Because they, you know, Gambia Tourism Board allocates lands to hotels, to different establishments, and they just give it to them for 50 years. It's a normal thing. It's nothing extraordinary to have a 50-year lease. So then we asked for 50-year lease, and they agreed. And then we said, okay, and then we signed a new agreement, and that you referred to. And this drawing, which was done by their own architects, is attached to that drawing, to that agreement. And February last year, we started building this building for them. Now, in a few years, will be 1 year, and all the infrastructure is finished, all the 3 floors and the roof is completed. And now we are inside to start the finishing of the inside of the building. So this is all how it came about, you know, this agreement. We signed several addendums and things just to accommodate this arrangement which I verbally narrated to you. I have all the documents and papers here. I have made extra copies for you for different agreements and addendums, and it's here for you to, if you want, I can submit it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The construction of the fourth site. When they came to you to say, now, we also want the Ministry of Tourism and Culture to be part of the that building. And they said for that one, they would pay that.
No. At the shopping center?
At the shopping center, yes.
No. For the 776 square meter,
Yeah.
which was double of 400 square meter, that we did it for free for them. They never paid for that. And then only Ministry of Tourism, as I said, they came later.
That's what happened.
450 square meter, only for that they have paid.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, for that,
That's
because
what they
that
paid.
was in addition to the 776 square meter.
That one was paid.
That was
Like,
paid.
how much was paid? Or you can have it, you can.
Something like $220,000. I am not sure exactly, but it's in the neighborhood of just around $220,000-$30,000 maximum. That was all.
Okay, but that was paid.
That was paid because of that 450 square meter extra to the 776 square meter, which was already double the size of our commitment, you know.
All right. You've also told the committee that the lease periods has changed from 30 years to 35 years. For that one, you have it in agreement. You wrote another agreement.
Exactly, it's here.
35
Yes.
Now, when the lease period also increased from 35 years to 50 years as a result of that, for you to take that the
Yes.
shopping that new site that will accommodate the GTBoard plus the Ministry of Tourism and Culture. So that took the lease period to 50 years.
Yes.
Do you equally have an agreement to that effect?
Yes, all of them are right here.
All of those agreements?
All of these agreements are right here. I represented you. I have, we haven't done anything without agreements. I'm very particular always in our dealings that everything is signed and sealed. It's all here. The original is in my office.
Just in
Honorable.
Yes. Yes, thank you, Mr. Sharmz. When you mentioned the first one, that is the one that is near, how do you call it? Tropics. The one that is where you have your shopping center and all that. You know, when you mentioned that you are talking about 30-year lease, and then you say eventually it was increased to 35 years. Now you are saying they asked you to go and build their office in another place, which is near the Palmarima. How did the 50-year lease come into being? That's what I cannot understand.
You know, as I said, when they decided not to use the offices
Yes.
that we have already built,
Yes.
okay? By the way, these offices are still empty. Only a couple of small offices we have rented. All this time we are suffering with its already offices without rent anything. But then, once they decided that, as I mentioned, they brought this drawing that I was trying to show, which their own architect has produced it. And they brought it and they told us that they want this building to be built. And as I said, the cost of this building was totally different again from those commitments that we had and the things that we had already prepared for them. So that's why it's so much more money needed for this, and that's why we asked them as a compensation for all this extra spending, increase our lease from 35 years to 50 years. This is what we asked them, and they have agreed.
Just for confirmation purposes, from my understanding, the new site for GTBoard offices and the Ministry of Tourism and Culture, which you've shown us the drawings, that you are going to build it exclusively after your funding. You're going to build that at no cost in exchange for the entire ownership of the tropics.
That's exactly true. Gambia Tourism Board is not paying one single butut for that 3-story building. Nothing. All it is in our agreement. If I give you the copy, we are obliged to build that for that return, for that change of 35 years to 50 years lease. We have accepted that and we are doing it. Within 1 year, we have already finished the structure, and then in the next 7-8 months, we will be done with the building and hand it over, and hopefully you will attend the opening ceremony of the building.
Somebody else?
No, just throw my attention.
I don't see any.
Why?
No, all you are saying is that when they ask for that separate building at Palmarino, they paid something like 225,000 or 200.
No.
They did not pay anything.
No, please, let's clarify that.
Yes.
No, it was way back. This building, this agreement was, I think, recently, 1 year or 2 years ago. That 220,000 was way back when we were building Tropic Shopping Center, and we built the offices of Gambia Tourism Board, 776 square meter. That time the Ministry of Tourism came. They said they want 450 square meter within the Tropic Shopping Center to be built purposely for them and to belong to them. And that's why we charged them that $200-something thousand for that 450, which is now left empty there for years and years. We can't even rent it at the Tropic Shopping Center. That's the only payment, only payment that Gambia Tourism Board and Ministry of Tourism has made towards all this thing that we are
That
talking
means that
about.
the building you did for them at Palmarima is just meant for the exchange for the lease period.
For the lease
from 35
period?
to 50.
For lease period, and also for giving us the offices back, because the offices that we built for them, they don't need it, so they return the offices back to us, and they change the 35 years to 50 years lease in exchange for this huge building that we are building. That's the only thing.
Okay, Mr. Stamps, you informed us
That the lease period originally was 30, but as a result of the inclusion of the construction of the underground parking, the lease periods went to 35 years as per agreement. For the construction, for the additional construction, the unplanned underground parking. Would you like to share with us if the said underground parking was actually constructed?
Hoping that you have even gone to Tropic and experienced that driving underground. That was built at the same time. This is not actually. Hello? You want me to wait on? Certainly, the underground parking was built even before the building was built, because it is underground and we had to build that and start building them. And it was finished at the same time with the rest of the building. And at the opening ceremony, if you have seen the video which was produced at the opening ceremony, when they came and they visited all the floors and underground parking, we have a challenge getting people to go underground. Still they come and park in front of the shopping center. No matter what we tell them, please go underground and use it, people are not used to it yet. They are still using the front of in front of the garden. So many cars. You have seen it in weekends how busy it gets. But then when the road is expanded, then everybody are forced to go and park underground.
Mr. Stamps,
That's interesting. In short, would you like to confirm that you have 100% executed your part of the contract?
I don't remember anything that I have promised and I haven't done it. Everything that we have written here has been done, and even we have gone above that, because the shopping center, the first plan with what it was finished, it's totally, we have spent so much more, you know, in that shopping center, and we have done so many upgrades, which we were not even thinking at the beginning to do it.
Would you like to equally remind us, because we are from confirmation, you said after some time that the authorities came to you and said, no, this place is no longer suitable for us. We want a separate identity for the GTBoard of Tourism. So we are not coming here. When was that communicated? Was it before the completion of the said construction or after the construction was complete?
It was construction of their offices was like 95% completed. Only the ceiling, false ceiling, we had to do on some doors and things. But all the partitionings were done, all the windows, all the floor tiling, everything was done at that time. It was ready. Only few items, finishing items were remaining. Public, male toilet sections, female toilet sections, everything was done and was ready. And that's the time they decided to have a separate.
Would you like to confirm that? Was that the only excuse they said they tender as sort of their refusal to occupy the building as per agreement, or there was an additional information that besides we want our own identity, but besides that, did they give you any other excuse for their refusal to occupy the same building as per the contract?
No, I'm not aware of. The only thing I heard that repeatedly they were saying that they really want their own identity building as a Ministry of Tourism and Gambia Tourism Board. They don't want to be part of a shopping center which they will not be identified, they will not be noticed as much. So that's what they wanted.
Did you say you had or you were told that they were not going to occupy this, but they want their identity as well, so they want a separate site?
I'm sorry, I didn't know. What was the question?
Where you, did they tell you or you had that they are not going to occupy that building simply because they want their own identity? How do you get information?
Well, I think probably I've heard from some of the members of Gambia Tourism Board, or I don't remember exactly who broke that news, the breaking news first to me, but then it has been, it started people talking about, no, the minister is not too happy with this being a part of the shopping center, and he wants his own building, and this is how everything started, and then we had several meetings and until we came to that agreement.
In conclusion, just to confirm to us, actually, the change of idea, if you just remind me that it's been contracted, that now you take the whole tropics commercial,
yes.
You take the whole thing and do that for us. Did you say that you also have an agreement?
Yes, of course.
You have an
Of course.
Yeah. Just a way of
Sure.
And 25,000.
Yeah.
That was paid by the MOTC for their offices.
Yeah.
Was it by installment or was it paid as one? It was paid by
installment. When the structure was ready, something was paid when before finishing in 3 or 4 installments. 3 installments.
And you're saying the idea of building the one at Palmarima was the idea of the new administration, not that of the...
Certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly the new administration wanted that.
Just be a bit of a second. As politicians, we talk a lot, but
No.
we'll be finished very soon. I saw Honorable Jawara.
Just 1 year, 2 years, it's simple.
Okay, it's a simple.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Just want to know this new agreement that you are talking about, which gives you the 50 years lease period for the topics, for the entire ownership of the topics. When was this signed?
Well, I have The copies here, I have to, if you want the exact date.
Yes, just refer to the exact dates so that we can know and have it in our records. I know you'll be asked to provide
2018.
2018.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is was done as per the request by the then minister or the current minister.
No. That was done by our request.
It was done under your request.
Yes,
That
because
is-
we added the underground parking, and we had so much more expensive to build that. And then we asked them as a compensation to increase the 30 years to 35 years. And this was way back under previous administration.
Yeah, so you requested, they requested for a 45 square meter of office. You mentioned that the minister requested for a 45 450
Yes.
square meter of office.
Yes.
That was the time you asked them to make an additional 5 years contract for you.
That was also previous
It's
administration.
the previous
Yeah,
administration.
that 450 square meter extra was previous administration.
By which Minister of Tourism?
If you can remember, so
I
maybe
don't
previous
remember.
will put back
I don't remember which minister was there really.
Okay. It's like going through your submission. It's like you were awarding them the contract and they were compensating you. Because you mentioned that the GT board asked for compensation of building a craft market and office complex at GT board. So why are you giving them the compensation in the first place? Because this is a contract that was awarded to you and you were being paid.
this communication to the
Sorry?
Are you comfortable
Yeah,
with that?
you said why the craft market and the
Why are
office?
you
I
were
have to
given
build
a
that.
contract.
Yeah.
They offer a land for you. You pay for the contract. They pay for your contract. Then why are you paying back the compensation? Of the
Nobody
craft-
paid for contract, no. They only allocated the land,
So
the empty land.
Yes, they give you free allocation.
Well, with the compensation, it wasn't so free.
I want to be clear here because you compensated them.
Yes, in return for allocation of that piece of property, near golf course where people were using for exercise, for training, going up and down, running. It was a bare land there, which was even being eroded to the sea every rainy season. It just was washing. So we asked for that land to be allocated to us so we can develop it. Have you been to Fajara waterfront?
Yes, how was the allocation done? Was it done by payment or it was done by free?
No, allocation was done for free, but in exchange, we built the
compensation.
Fajara craft market for them with 80 shops
Yeah.
for free, and the 400 square meter of offices that we pledged that we will build for them. But they could not come up with any place for many years until later they identified this new site. And then they increased it to 776 square meter, which is still be accepted to build, which was twice the size. They were still accepted to build. And then when we built that, and then they came and they said, no, they don't want it. They want to go have their own identity building. Is it clear or I am not?
Yes, it's clear.
Thank you very much.
I've gone through the agreement that is signed in 2014 that have the 30-year lease periods. Just so there is something that is very interesting, and which states that the operator, that is the developer, that is you, Construct Company Limited, you will not be, you are exempted from paying operational license, like the shop you occupy there, or whatever business that is there, at the topics. But like those who will be there occupying the tenants, who will be paying rent to you, will be paying operational license to the GT board. So I just want you to clarify on that.
Well, restaurants or anything there. So we were not probably entitled to pay any operational license. We are not running a business. All the spaces we have rented out to individual business owners, the restaurants, the shops and everything, and offices. And those are the ones who are doing business in that location. And of course they have to pay their taxes accordingly. We are not earning anything from them, only for aside from the rent.
understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
But as the owner, we were told also the contract dynamics have significantly changed. Does the situation still remain that you are no longer paying the operational license? Are you paying or not as a result of change of contract? Because the whole thing has changed.
The lease period has changed from 30 to 35 to 50 years. I don't even understand that operational license. Is it from GTBoard or from Ministry of?
From GTBoard. I will now paying to the GTBoard. Hence that the contract dynamics have completely changed.
Well, actually, you know, the shopping center is not even 1 year old, or less than 1 year or something, that it started. No, we haven't come across that point yet. We haven't received any demand, and we haven't even discussed that. That, at the moment, is not very clear.
Honorable yes, your hand.
Yeah. I just want him to clarify more on this licensing, because it is still lingering in my mind. Are you saying that you are not earning anything from that land or from that building, and at the same time you are telling me that you are renting it? So I think if you are renting it, you must be earning something. Can you please clear something? I'm not clear. Yeah.
To some you are at liberty to explain.
Well, really, that operation, I had even forgotten about that clause in the contract. You're just bringing it up. Really, I had even forgotten about that. I don't know how it went there and what happened, and how much is the operational license or something. I don't even know what they are charging. I have never come across it. I know we have Ocean View Resort, you know, the Lebato apartments, we pay some operational license there. But for this one, we haven't paid yet. But if GTBoard really is very particular about it, we will start paying. Doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter.
Yes, thank you. Just two issues. Where you are talking about the building that is at Palmarima.
Yes.
Did they give you any specific, or no, the building at, how do you call it? Yes, near Centers. Did they give you any specific scale plan for the building? Building plan?
For the shopping center?
Yes.
No, that was our plan.
That was
the whole thing was our idea.
Yeah.
For them, they wanted a small 400 square meter office to be built.
Okay.
According to our Fajara waterfront agreement. 400 square meter office, which is so small, and the land was 40 meter by 80 meter.
Yeah.
So huge, you know. And our agreement was to build that little office and fence the whole place and waste the land, which we came up with this plan not to do that and do a grand shopping center there and for them to be part of it. No, they didn't give us any plan. It was our plan and our thoughts in developing it that way.
So this, just the next question, Chair. This agreement that we have, which is what we are told here in point 21, is that the agreement supersedes all previous agreements. If that is the case, that it supersedes all the previous agreements. But after that, it appears we continue to make other agreements, right? Yeah.
Which I have this one here,
Okay.
which was talking about that 400 square meter and the craft market. Okay. So this agreement of 2014 is saying that now this supersedes that agreement of 2011.
Yes.
And you have noticed that the area of the offices of GTBoard in this new agreement increased from 400 to 776.
Yeah.
So they are saying that that agreement of 400 square meter is not valid anymore.
Yeah.
So we are supposed to build this office, which is almost twice the size of the original agreement.
Yeah. Okay. When they are all done.
Mr. Sharmz, do you have the contract I have in front of me?
Yes,
You have.
yeah.
May I refer you to clause 12 on page 3 of 5.
Yes.
Page 3 of 5. Would you like to read clause 12 for us so we can all hear it again?
The developer shall operate the commercial center for its own commercial gain and shall be entitled to exercise its rights responsibly and within the ambit of the applicable law as landlord during the term of lease without interference from either GTB or MOTC.
Do you really understand this?
Yeah.
Do you understand? Because you're part of the agreement, so you may have not signed anything that you did not understand.
No, I understood
You
that very
understand?
well.
Yeah, for me, my English is so good.
Yes.
Explain in a layman's terms so that we can all understand.
No,
what
the
is
re-
this telling us?
The reason for this clause here is that, you know, they have their offices, and when you look at the building on the right side, on the upper floor, the rest of the building, you know, we built and we are operating it. So any policy regarding the shops, restaurants, offices on top, cinemas, bowling, whatever that we are supposed to make it, not MOTC and the GTBoard. So they have their offices, they own their offices, they will be there forever. But then the rest of the building, we are operating it, so we are the only one who should make the policies and you know, and operate it and have our own management without their interference. Is that clear? In other words, we didn't want like GTBoard after 5 years to come and say, look, this cinema is not good, change it to this, or this bowling or these offices, change it to that. Because that part of the building belongs to us, not to them.
Yes. Just one little confusion is that we've discovered that they were not, the GTBoard, if they had taken over, if they had occupied their area at the Paradise, they would not have been paying anything to you. But now you are telling us they have never occupied it. Is that what you are saying?
At the
The tropics. The area they were supposed to occupy.
Yes, yes.
They are no more occupying, isn't
Yes.
it? They are no more occupying.
No.
Okay. That means that they don't have to pay any rent to anyone. But they are not.
They are not occupying that because they will be having this new building.
But have they ever occupied the place?
No, they never entered that place. They never, before they enter, as I said, they had 95% finished it.
Yeah.
Just little finishing was left when the news came that they don't want it anymore.
So
Final.
I think we are done.
Final. This is my son.
Mr. Sam,
Yes.
Yes.
this one is just opinion. Huh? Your opinion. As a social business person, would you say the ministry and the GTBoard, after that huge work at District Tropics, after all this effort at the tropics and all the money that they've put there, for them to now abandon that for another idea of building a head office, is that business sound? Is that sounding as a very good business for the government? Would you say?
As I mentioned, you know, it was not up to me to decide on this. It's up to them, of course. But within myself, as I mentioned it earlier, that within myself, I somehow agreed with the decision of the minister and ministry to have their own identity building for the sake of the country, for the sake of the development of the country. Of course, it looks so much better for the country to have its own ministry in a separate land and a separate place than to be mixed with it, with the shopping center. This never came to our minds when we were negotiating and building this. Everybody was happy that they will be part of, you know, this Tropic Shopping Center. This was the idea of the new minister, I think, or one of them that really was so particular about separating it from this. And myself, within my heart, I somehow agreed with his decision, you know, at that time, that this is a good thing for the country to have their own identity building.
Thank you very much, honorable colleagues. Our only subject matter spaces, of course, my club, our friends from the media fraternity, thank you so much. We remain deeply indebted to you in terms of gratefulness because you've been accompanying us for so long in the interest of public knowledge. Our valued witness, this brought us to the end of this hearing. This could not be the end. If the committee finds out there's a need for you to come back, we will invite you back. Or we may call you if there's need for further clarification. We will be in a position to call you to further clarify. But before I conclude, let me take this opportunity to thank you very much indeed for taking time off your very, very busy schedule. And so you're here very early, almost 1 hour committed to in helping us move this country from one point to a better position. So I'm not going to thank you very much, and I wish you well. And I now have the honor and privilege to release you and officially close this hearing. And we really pray